Before the sponge, people used rags, moss, and whatever the sea washed ashore. For most of human history, cleaning was improvised, ineffective, and in some cases, deadly. So how did a simple organism pulled from the ocean floor become one of the most essential tools in human civilization? This is the erased history of the sponge. It's something almost everyone uses every day, and yet almost nobody knows his impact on the civilization. But the story of the sponge is deeply connected to ancient empires, military survival, industrial collapse, and the moment a factory erased 600 million years of natural history. I'm Luke Harmon, and this is The Hard Way. And this is the story of the object that cleaned ancient Rome, supplied field hospitals, built a global industry, and almost went extinct because of it. The Romans had a word for it: terra mare, a sea sponge on a stick dipped in vinegar passed between strangers in a public bathroom. No walls, no privacy, just a shared sponge and an expectation that you'd hand it to the next person when you were done. That sponge wasn't just a hygiene tool, it was a living organism pulled from the ocean floor. And for most of human history, it was the most advanced cleaning technology on Earth. Here's what most people don't realize. A sponge is not a plant. It's not a rock. It's not even a simple animal in the way we think of animals. It has no brain, no heart, no nervous system, no muscles. It cannot move. It cannot think. And yet it has survived on this planet for over 600 million years. It watched the dinosaurs arrive. It watched them disappear. And it's still here, in your kitchen, next to the dish soap. For thousands of years, humans had no idea what a sponge actually was. The Greeks thought it might be a plant with some form of sensation. Aristotle wrote about it extensively, unsure whether to classify it as animal or vegetable. He eventually placed it somewhere in between, a living thing, but barely. It took until the 19th century for science to confirm what fishermen in the Mediterranean had known intuitively for millennia. The sponge is alive. It feeds. It breathes. It reproduces. It just does all of it without moving an inch. The ancient Greeks and Romans didn't care much about the biology. They cared about the utility. Sponges were harvested from the floors of the Aegean and Mediterranean seas by divers who held their breath, sometimes to depths of 30 meters. No equipment, no oxygen tanks, just a knife, a rope, and lungs. The best sponges came from the waters around Greece, Tunisia, and the coast of what is now Turkey, and they were worth serious money. But here's where it gets interesting. The Romans didn't just use sponges in the bathroom. They used them on the battlefield. Roman soldiers carried sponges as part of their standard kit. They used them to pad the inside of helmets, to clean wounds, to filter drinking water on long marches. The sponge wasn't just comfort, it was infrastructure. Military technology disguised as a natural object. Fast forward to the Middle Ages, and the sponge largely disappears from European records. Not because people stopped needing it, because the trade routes that supplied it collapsed. When Rome fell, so did the organized harvesting networks across the Mediterranean. For centuries, most of Europe went back to rags, moss, and whatever else was available. The sponge became a luxury again, rare, expensive, something only the wealthy could access. Then came the 19th century, and everything changed. By the 1800s, demand for natural sponges exploded. Hospitals needed them for surgery. Artists needed them for painting. Households wanted them for cleaning. And so the sponge fishing industry became one of the most dangerous occupations on Earth. Here's what most history books skip. In the Greek island of Kalymnos, entire generations of men built their lives around sponge diving. Boys as young as 14 entered the water. They descended on weighted stones. They cut sponges from the ocean floor and rose back to the surface before their lungs gave out. The lucky ones came back up. Some didn't. And those who survived decades of diving often developed a condition called the bends. Nitrogen bubbles forming in the blood from ascending too fast. It caused paralysis. It caused death. It caused an entire island of young men to grow old before their time. By the early 20th century, overharvesting had decimated natural sponge populations across the Mediterranean and Caribbean. Then, in 1938, a disease swept through sponge beds off the coast of Florida and the Bahamas. Within 2 years, it wiped out over 90% of the commercial sponge population in those waters. An entire industry, centuries old, collapsed in less than 24 months. Which is why, in 1943, a chemical company called DuPont introduced something that would change everything: the synthetic sponge, made from cellulose, cheap to produce, identical in function, and infinitely scalable. Within a decade, the natural sponge industry was a shadow of itself. The object that had survived 600 million years of mass extinctions nearly met its end, not from geology or climate, but from a factory in New Jersey. Today, natural sponges still exist. Kalymnos still has divers. The Aegean still produces some of the finest sponges in the world. But they're a specialty product now, a curiosity. What you have next to your sink is almost certainly synthetic, a product designed in a lab to replace something that grew on the ocean floor long before humans existed. Let that sink in. The sponge cleaned the wounds of Roman soldiers. It padded the helmets of legions that built an empire. It was worth dying for, literally, for generations of Greek divers. And now it sits next to your dish soap, waiting for you to clean a plate. History is everywhere, even in the things you squeeze without thinking. If you enjoyed this, hit subscribe, like the video, and drop a comment below on what hidden story you want uncovered next. This is the hard way. History is everywhere.